Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years. We're dedicated to delivering quality auto parts, expert customer service, fast and free shipping, all backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. So visit us at 1AAuto.com, your trusted source for quality auto parts.
In this video, we're going to be working with our 2006 Chrysler 300 3.5 liter rear wheel drive. We're going to show you how to remove and replace your vehicle's front wheel hub and bearing assembly. If you like this video, please click subscribe. We have a ton more information on this and many other vehicles. And if you want these parts for your car, you can follow the link down in the description over to 1AAuto.com. Here are the items you'll need for this repair. Using a 21mm socket and a breaker bar, loosen all of your lug nuts about one turn. Raise and support your vehicle. We're using a lift to make it easier to show you what's going on, but this job can easily be done at home with a jack and jack stands. Remove your lug nuts the rest of the way by hand. Remove your wheel and tire. Remove the two 13mm bolts securing the caliper to the bracket. We'll do this using a 13mm socket and ratchet. Remove the caliper and using a bungee cord, zip tie, or mechanics wire, hang it up out of the way. Remove the pads. Remove the two 18mm caliper bracket bolts with an 18mm socket and ratchet. Be sure to crack both of these loose before removing either one fully. Remove the caliper carrier and remove the rotor. Using a small chisel and a small hammer, we'll tap in between the hub and this dust cover. Once you get it moving, just rotate it and work your way around until the dust cover comes off. Once you've got it moving, angle the chisel so it knocks it out. Using a 35mm socket and a breaker bar, and depending on the length of your breaker bar, you may also want to use a cheater pipe. Remove the center nut. Once you've got it cracked loose, you can remove the cheater pipe and finish removing the nut from the spindle. Remove the wheel hub and bearing from the vehicle. Here we have our old hub that we removed from our vehicle and our new part from 1AAuto.com. As you can see, these parts are exactly the same with the same wheel studs, the same open style bearing in the middle there. We have the same backing on them and the same bore and hub face. If a wheel bearing starts going bad, it'll create a loud grinding or groaning sound while driving that'll get louder and softer as you turn left and right depending on which side of the vehicle the bad bearing is on. If these bearings get too bad and fail, it can cause a wheel to rotate improperly or stop completely. So when you hear that noise, it's time to change it. This new wheel bearing from 1A Auto is a good quality replacement part that's going to go in direct fit, just like your original, and fix you up right. Install your new wheel bearing and hub assembly onto the spindle. Sure to get it on there nice and even and straight, and then it bottoms out completely. Install your 35mm nut. We'll use the socket and breaker bar for this since it has a nylon lock on the end of the threads. It's not going to be something we can install by hand. We'll then torque the nut to 184 foot-pounds. Install the dust shield. It helps to use a rubber hammer or a dead blow when installing these. If you don't have access to one, use a screwdriver and gently tap around the edges with a regular hammer. Using a small flat blade screwdriver, pop off the brake slides. Now these aren't very rusty or corroded, so we can just clean these up and reinstall them. First we'll use a wire brush. Make sure you have a dust mask and safety glasses on when you remove this rust from the contact surfaces. These don't have to be crazy perfectly smooth. You just want to remove the majority of the buildup and apply a thin coat of brake grease. Clean up your slides the same way. Reinstall it onto your caliper carrier and apply a thin coat of grease to that as well. Hold the boot and remove the pin. Wipe the old grease off of the pins and apply a new coat. This you can go a little bit thicker on. Now this rust buildup on the end isn't a big deal. However, if it were down on the actual moving portion of the pin, we would want to replace them. You'll also need to make sure that the boot seats back onto the pin correctly. And we'll repeat this process on the other side of our bracket. Now that our caliper bracket is cleaned and greased, it's ready to go back on the vehicle. Apply a thin coat of brake grease to the hub surface. Be sure to get the flat surface as well as the bore. This will prevent our rotor from getting frozen onto the hub. Install the rotor onto the hub backwards and spray it down with some brake cleaner. This removes the coating they use to prevent the surfaces from rusting while these parts are in storage. We'll flip it around and spray that down too. Now this next step isn't entirely necessary, but if you have access to an old axle nut or some other type of large spacer, you can put it over the wheel stud. Tighten a lug nut down to it to keep the rotor straight while we install the rest of our components. Reinstall the caliper bracket and the two 18mm bolts, which we'll tighten down with our 18mm socket and ratchet, and then tighten to 70 foot-pounds. Install your new brake pads into the caliper carrier and grease the back sides of the shims with a thin coat of brake grease. Remove the caliper from whatever you use to secure it, and using a pair of groove jaw pliers, slowly compress the caliper piston. Reinstall the caliper and the two 13mm bolts securing the caliper to the guide pins. Using your 13mm socket and a torque wrench, torque the caliper bolts to 44 foot-pounds. Remove the wheel lug as well as the axle nut if you use this method, and reinstall your wheel and tire. and get all 5 of your 21mm lug nuts on as tight as you can by hand. Lower the partial weight of your vehicle back onto the tires. Torque your lug nuts to 110 foot-pounds in a cross pattern.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.